Links for BitChute and Odysee. I noticed this thing about Alex. I'm not sure if I can even say his full name on YouTube. Jones. 2 weeks ago, a week ago, where he went to investigate some migrant children, and Snopes did a little thing on it, Newsweek and all these like far left magazines did a little thing on it, but there was some missing information. They seem to talk around a lot of issues here, which is a pretty important issue, but they just hate this guy Alex J so much that they're willing to let children possibly be harmed. So Alex Jones stopped smugglers from illegally transporting children at the border, and the Snopes says it's false, but Snopes is a far left globalist organization. And they say it's false, but then they say the reasoning for why it is false. He caught a guy who had a bunch of kids in the back of a van, not in seatbelts, not in seats, just piled in the back of a van. And the guy, unidentified, said he was taking them for a COVID. So the police came. But the thing is, I'm hearing a lot of Newsweek and these other like shill far left magazines saying, "Oh, Alex Jones, he didn't do anything." But people aren't actually investigating who this guy is and who these charities are and what's going on with the kids. Are they being smuggled into America? Is there something going on with these kids? It's like the greater good, the greater harm is preventing harm to kids. That's the story, is you must protect kids at all costs, even if sometimes people get their feelings hurt or, you've got to protect kids from possibly being smuggled, right? Like even if your enemy is the one who's doing the good thing, you have to give Alex the praise for doing something good. Like his heart's in the right place here, right? Don't you want to help kids from not being hurt? So Snopes says it's false because the charity sent in a letter and said that it wasn't as represented, but like, you got a carload of kids, a guy with a mask, and they're moving these unaccompanied kids around. Like, you got some lady in the car says she's a mom. Well, why don't we find out if you're the mom or not? Like, can we see some ID, something like that? From illegal to transporting children, but nobody ever did a follow-up. Like, it's been a week and a half and nobody ever investigated to say, well, can we... The problem with kids coming over the border that the far left doesn't seem to understand is you got one adult and 20 kids and they go, oh yeah, they're my kids. Well, do you get some paperwork on that? Can we get some blood tests? How do we know you're not hurting these kids? You already broke the law in sneaking into a foreign country. It's like it makes it look like you're kidnapping these kids and taking them out of country to possibly traffic them. That's a very reasonable conclusion. And then you get this weird little bit of news. Feds abruptly close migrant facility housing children after mysterious death of worker. Teenage girls were reportedly forced to use plastic bags to go to the bathroom. So you've got a group of girls, 500 kids, aged 13 to 17, who came across the border unaccompanied. 500 girls, teenage girls, came across the border. Doesn't that raise the hairs on the back of anyone's neck and say, this doesn't seem right? I understand people from a third world country are trying to make a new life in a first world country. I get that. But usually, not teenage girls don't typically put themselves in harm's way. That more looks like trafficking for a sexual purpose, doesn't it? I mean, it's this isn't some far-right conspiracy. And I'm not saying it is or it isn't. It's just a reasonable law enforcement agency, a reasonable people would want to look at this and say, okay, let's just make sure these girls are not being trafficked. They're teenage girls. They're not coming over with their families. You're just telling me teenage girls brought themselves to a foreign country? I mean, they probably aren't their parents worried about them? Doesn't this activate the almonds on anybody's radar? Sorry to mix metaphors. 500 girls. Come on, that's a little weird. However, the government did not provide the exact reason Biden's America for the facility's abrupt closure. Cesar Espinoza, director of immigrant advocacy groups, told the Associated Press there was an incident. Police cars and ambulance were present, but no more information than that. The people there look like they're in a sad stance, kind of with their head down, look like they're wiping tears away. The teenage girls he's talking about. Human Health and Services didn't provide any additional details. Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, Texas, claimed worker died from a medical emergency was unrelated to the migrant children caused by underlying health conditions. Okay, maybe people have heart attacks, but isn't the bigger issue there's 500 teenage girls? What's going on? Hey, Biden. Hey, doesn't anyone want to say what's going on with the border? Like, this is probably for a nefarious purpose. You're telling me 500 teenage girls came across the border on their own to get jobs in America? Like, were they going to family? Why wouldn't family escort them? Why wouldn't they stay in Mexico until they're of age? Something isn't wrong. Something is wrong with the story. So Espinoza toured the facility, saw desperation in the girls' faces. It was filled with cots where the girls were not allowed to get up unless it was to shower or use the restroom. Even the meals were delivered to the cots. They were treated like merchandise rather than treated like human beings, as people who just went through a very traumatic experience. These kids are probably being trafficked. And nobody wants to say it because it's like, oh, you're just anti-immigrant. Immigration, yes. I mean, you should stay in your country and make your country great again instead of coming to another country. It's like, you already have a country. Stay and improve it. Otherwise, nothing's going to change. You just, wherever you go, there you are. You're taking your own problems with you. So these kids they might be being trafficked. It's a possibility, but nobody wants to look into it because it's like, oh, the media doesn't want to make Biden look bad. Like, I don't care if you are partisan and you love Biden and you don't want to do anything that makes him look bad, but you got to protect 500 teenage girls from being trafficked, don't you? Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, guys, and I'll see you on Odysee. Get on Odysee. You can move crypto around. You can donate crypto. Like I always said, donate, send $3 or send nudes, but like on Odysee, you can give somebody a tip of like a quarter if you want, or even a penny. It's like YouTube, but without the censorship. Anyway, I'll see you guys on Alt Media.